I can work with that. When I can say, I would do it, I don't know, I either this or that, and then he would kind of point to what would be more beneficial. But you couldn't, to my guru, you couldn't go and say, what shall I do? He would say, well, what do you want to do? So you have to think. Yeah. Well, that was good. Then, yeah, requesting to teach the Dharma, not just to appear, but also to teach the Dharma, that's an antidote to ignorance. And you know, again, purifies all the criticism that we have towards spiritual practices from past lives. So that it's blocked, so that we create the causes, so that we can really, we're open to all practices for philosophy and Tantra and Sutra and Bodhisattva vehicle and all that. Yeah? So that we can practice the Dharma its entirety, and then dedication is an antidote for self-concern, my own liberation, because you say, I'm doing this for great enlightenment, which means my own enlightenment, but also my own enlightenment for others. I want to become enlightened because of them. Yeah? And this is also, we have much more energy when we do something for somebody else. Yeah, you're tired in the evening, nobody comes to visit you, you think, oh, should I really take a shower or no? Should I really cook dinner or no? So you don't, so you're not taking care of yourself. Whereas if you know somebody is coming, you cook and you take a shower for their sake. Not just because you want them to like you, also be out of consideration. We're not so totally self-concerned that we never do anything for anybody else. And you can see it's much easier to do it when you do it for somebody else. Yeah? Is okay, this one?
Yes, thank you.
Is being worried about welfare, health, etc. of myself and of others considered a negative emotion? Well, it depends, you know, worried at what level is a concern? Is it a concern? Concern? How can concern be a negative emotion?
Being worried is like not a good feeling, but it's also thinking about others.
Yeah, well, this worry should make you go on the Bodhisattva path, because that's the only way I can be of some help will be when I'm a Buddha. One thing is I don't create negative karma anymore. So you see, if you don't have negative karma, nobody kind of can create negative karma with you, because you can't be attacked in a way. Yeah. So worry, yeah.
You never speak about this, and it's for me it's a big emotion.
Yeah, it can be obsessive and it can block us. So again, if worry gets you going, and it doesn't make you tense and tight and very narrow inside, then it can be a good thing. But if it blocks you and it makes you be, you know, like angry at these people that you think, again, is it the worry for all beings, also for the rich and for the powerful and for the successful? Yeah. Then it's not. Then it's biased. Then again, it's only worries for one category. Also, if it's worries about, is it also worries about the all pervasive condition suffering? No, not really. It's just the suffering of suffering. Yeah. So, is it negative? Considered a negative emotion? I would say it's not a helpful emotion. It's kind of biased. It's narrow. And but it's good to have this concern for others. We call compassion. It's good to have, to see their suffering, to see my own suffering. It's not a bad thing to have. We need it at the beginning, but then very quickly we need to bring in the emptiness part, or at least impermanence and law of cause and effect, so that we can see that all this has causes, and if we want it to stop, we have to stop the causes. Yeah. And then finally there's no real I, there's no real other, everything is just labeled by the mind. But again, with this labeled by the mind, it doesn't mean that nothing exists. So for those people, can I have a pen please? For those people who haven't had that, is yours? Is yours? It is maybe. Oh yeah, I don't know. Exactly, this is very good. Oh, this is perfect. I don't need the pen.
Hi, so you want the pen now?
It's too small. If you would come and look at it. Probably hold it the wrong way round.
Shantideva talks about worry, no? If there's something to do, why worry?
What is it? It's in Hebrew.
Exactly.
I mean, I can read it.
So, we used this before, so those people who have seen it before don't say anything. What is this?
A.
A.
Depends who looks at it.
What is this?
A ladder.
Three lines.
3 lines. Exactly.
A ladder.
10.
Is it three? What is it? Is it 3 lines?
A wolf.
It's ink.
Depends on your mind.
It's ink. Is it really ink? No, it's chemicals and color and blah, blah, blah. So we go down, 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 down. So this is why it was a very good thing. Yeah? This. Because for me, it's just lines. I don't even know how to hold it. It's just scribble. It's a scribble. And no matter how long I look at it. Now this, 3 lines. Okay. Things exist, but merely labeled. In order to put a label, you need a base. Yeah? So what exists is the R exists, but not from its own side. When you look at it, you say this is R, as if the dog who looks at it also says this is R. That's what we think. For everybody this is R. But if you're from Thailand, or if you're born here and you've never seen an R and you only know Hebrew, then it would be 3 lines, as you say. Absolutely no meaning. For me, this, 0 meaning. It becomes meaning when you give it a meaning. This becomes A when your mind labels it A. Now from its own side it's not also 3 lines, because again, if you're a fly, you don't see 3 lines. Yeah? So things exist as whatever your mind labels it. So there is an I, there's an A. So first what you see is a real A. You know, when I say, you say A, and then I say, really? And you go, yes, of course, really. Yeah, are you blind or something? So it appears as if this is a real A. Oh, whatever. Yeah? That's wrong. You add something to it that is not there. The R is not there. The R jumps here when your mind labels it R. That's how these 3 lines are dependent on your mind to be an R. So with these things, metaphysical things almost, we understand very well how things only exist labeled by the mind. What is this? No idea. Is it something?
Something red.
We don't see from here.
What is it? Honey, what is it? It's a heart. Oh, it's 9. It's like this. Look, beautiful. No, it's okay. It's beautiful.
It's a heart.
It's a heart with, with long eyelashes. And the smiling. It's very nice. But if you look at it first thing, it's nothing. It's just ink. It's just something. And then all of a sudden it clicks into real existing heart with long eyelashes. Thank you very much, honey. It's perfect, you know. This one here was perfect, and this one here was also perfect. It's exactly what I needed to give this example. So I do exist, but as a combination of body and mind who transforms moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. And there's no real I, no real me inside of that. I, me is merely labeled on the basis, you need a basis, of combination of body and mind. That's it. That's what emptiness means. Not nothing exists, but it exists depending on your mind as what you think it is. But the mistake that we're making is that we think it exists really out there, separate from the mind. So this is what emptiness is all about. So when you bring this in, you see again with suffering, Suffering it doesn't exist from its own side. It's a dependent arising on top of it because it needs causes and conditions. The same way this R needs causes and conditions. It needs an empty page. If the page would have been blue and I paint an R on it, there's nothing appearing. So it needs a white or another colored page. It needs somebody who draws 3 lines. And then it needs a mind who calls it R. When these 3 things come together, then you have an R. If any of those is missing, you don't have an R. Do you understand? Yeah? Okay. So then you bring that into the suffering. And you see, it becomes compassion when you know that suffering can end because it has causes. But for us, when Gidi says, wow, but these people, they are producing more and more and more causes. Yeah, but they can also stop producing those causes. If it would have no cause, if suffering would have no cause, then we can despair. But because it has a cause, and because you can come and collect it afterwards, or now if you want. You can leave it here. I can have a look at it. I have no clue what you mean. This can be your biggest secrets, honey. I don't know what you wrote. So it's okay, don't worry. We'll leave it here. Nobody's allowed to touch it, you guys. Only me, who don't understand. Okay, so in the compassion we need to bring in the emptiness bit and the dependent arising, otherwise we burn out. And also this confidence, this view that everybody can be totally cured and healed from any suffering and from any klesha, because it's not oneness with the mind. To start to kind of connect with our own goodness, and then to think like everybody has that goodness. I have access to this space in me where everything is okay and where it's spacious and luminous and peace and free and everything is there. I need to go there. I can go there, especially when the mind starts to calm down. But don't look for it, because when you look for it again, you make the split. I want to go into the spaciousness. It won't work. Just train, whatever, keeping the mind on the object without making a story about the object, unless it's analytical meditation. That's why you need to know, when you meditate, what is it? Am I doing analytical meditation or I'm doing shamatha? If it's shamatha, you don't analyze. It's only if the breath, in, out, in, out, in, out. If it's the picture of a Buddha, it's whatever you see is fine, and then you start to maybe fine-tune a little bit. If it's the nature of the mind, which is also an object of shamatha, this is a great object of shamatha. It's very lofty, and it sounds very high. Oh, my object of shamatha is nature of the mind. Oh. But most of the people don't know what they're looking at. I'm not joking. This is it. This is very, very profound. Trying to look at the... it sounds very nice, all these texts. Just let the mind rest in its natural state. It will realize its own nature. But my mind, excuse me, is when I sleep, maybe I'm in natural state. Not even then, probably, Constantly turned up by I want, I don't want, I'm bored, what can I do? What shall I not do? Always this. So then it's good, I think it's good to take an object, you know what the object is. And for me, breath, perfect. It's always with me, Even the Buddha, for me, for my very busy mind, the Buddha is too subtle. I need something kind of more... So it doesn't matter what your object is for the quality of your shamatha. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you know the object. Yeah. So of course, nature of the mind sounds great. And sometimes people think they will be enlightened quicker than the others, but it's not, because you train shamatha, you're not training vipassana when you do that. Shamatha is to have a peaceful mind, then you take the vipassana bit. I think I have the third question. Oh, here it is. You've mentioned that all Buddhas have been bodhisattvas before. Even those who practice the path of the foundation level. No, those Buddhas are called Pratyeka Buddhas or Shavaka Buddhas. The ones from the founder vehicle, or sometimes called Theravadin or Hinayana, they're not, now this sounds very arrogant, I know, and I don't like to say it, but it is said that they're not fully enlightened, they are liberated. They have gotten rid of the obstacles to liberation, but they're not fully enlightened, meaning they're not omniscient. They don't have the qualities of a Buddha because they haven't trained on the Bodhisattva path. They have eliminated the obstacles to liberation, which is the kleshas. Ignorance, attachment, greed, and aversion, anger, hatred, and all the others. And so that's why they're called either shravakas. These are called hearers, the ones who hear the teachings and then meditate on them. The others are called pratyeka Buddhas, which means solitary realizers. Okay? The ones who have heard the teachings maybe in another life, they have what they need, they go off and meditate on the 12 links. The shravakas meditate on the Four Noble Truths until they liberate, until they got rid of all their negative emotions. Yeah? So they have not been bodhisattvas before, because they're not on the bodhisattva path. You have 3 vehicles. And it's not, the 3 vehicles are not Hinayana, Mahayana, Tantrayana. The 3 vehicles are the Shravaka vehicle, the Pratyeka vehicle, and the Bodhisattva vehicle.
When I was in a Theravada retreat, so they are practicing the 4 Brahmaviharas.
Yes.
And it's also the metta and compassion.
Yes, definitely.
So why is it so different? I mean, because they are not saying... they are also meaning to liberate all beings, no? It's not like that?
Not really, no. This is why the Buddha taught different vehicles, because for some it's just too much. You know, this is why, for example, in Sri Lanka also, there's people who don't study Buddhism, the common view is, nirvana, you disappear. You totally disappear. You're not coming back again and again and again until everybody's enlightened. So there's the view that some beings, some very, very special beings, have the predisposition to become a historical Buddha like Shakyamuni Buddha. But most of his disciples don't have that. They have the predispositions for liberation, but not for full enlightenment. So when you do the 4 immeasurables in the Mahayana tradition, you use 4 lines for each one. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all beings had happiness, the cause of happiness? Then a bit stronger. May they have happiness and the causes of happiness. I will give them happiness and the causes of happiness. And then we realize can't do it, and then you go, please Guru Deity, inspire me to be able to do so. But I'm not saying they don't have compassion or whatever. You know, I see them, the way they behave much better very often than Mahayanists on the path.
What do you mean they are disappearing?
Huh?
What's meaning of they disappear?
The view is that it's like a candle that is being blown out.
No rebirth.
No. No rebirth, of course not, if you're liberated.
But the mind is...
In another form, maybe.
No, not the Pratyekas and not the Shavakas.
Ah, okay.
You have 4 different nirvanas. Okay? One is natural nirvana, which is our Buddha nature. Everybody has that, even the smallest ant. What?
But the mind disappears and mind is eternal.
Yeah, but this is the view that they have. It's not my fault, I'm sorry.
The mind is
I'm telling you, that's the view they have.
Sri Lanka.
That was the first Buddhist view, is that you liberated, and it's nice, you know, they defend the Buddhist view. I'm not saying they're right, I'm just saying that is their view.
So for them, mind is not eternal.
You disappear.
Wow.
So how do we say that after a while a Buddha knocks on the door and says, come on, it's time to go?
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. Because the mind doesn't disappear, you know, they have this view, okay, I disappeared, then somebody comes and knocks on the door, and you go, oh, hey, what is it? I disappeared, what do you want from me? There's different views. There's a lot of different Buddhist views. About emptiness, there's different views. About the goal, there's different views, you know. So, but there's 4 different nirvanas. One is called natural nirvana. This is the Buddha nature that we all have. These are the kids coming back from the buffet.
It's as long as they become I say,
Wait, let me finish with these four nirvanas. Okay, then you have on the founder vehicle path, you also have these 5 paths, so you also enter. Then you become what is called the stream enterer. That would probably be on the path of, I would say, accumulation, preparation, where you're not falling back. You can't, you only go in one direction towards liberation. Then you become a once returner, so you have to you come back one more time. Then you become a no-returner. That's your last life in this body. And in this body, which still has some kind of contaminated causes where you will still have to die, but then you kind of get rid of even the most subtle obscurations for liberation, then you attain nirvana in this body that still dies. So this is called nirvana with remainder. Something still remains, but is samsaric, that will die. And then the mind goes into eternal peace. And actually they say, if you ask what is it, they go, it's beyond concept. Some actually think that you disappeared. The earlier views thought that, Buddhist views thought that that's it, it's finished, you disappear. And then all these other teachings of the Buddha, which were then going into Mahayana sutras, then they were explaining that third turning of the wheel in, where was it, Vaishali. This explains what it means, salt in Buddha nature and all that. Yeah.
so till they get to liberation, they'll...
Wait. We're still at the second nirvana. So then the body dies and you go into nirvana, which is called non-abiding nirvana.
That's the second?
Which is called nirvana without remainder. So there's only mind, and what that mind is and what it is, does it have compassion, does it not have compassion, I don't know. I don't know so much about these things. Yeah, you have to ask a Buddhist professor who studied like both vehicles. And then that's it. Then it says, like the Mahayanas say, then the Buddhas come and kick you out of there. I don't know if it's true. I find it a bit disrespectful, to be honest. Because the Buddha did teach both vehicles. So it's totally okay. But I think they tell the ones who have already entered the Mahayana vehicle not to fall back into the thinking, I'd rather go to the Theravadins, it's easier. Because it's true, it's easier, it's much quicker. They say, if you do this properly, 7 lifetimes, tschüss, bye. That's it. Yeah, 7 lifetimes, they say, if you do it properly. Huh?
Good deal.
Yeah, so for you. But then this is why I think, because you're already in the Mahayana vehicle and you have been exposed to Bodhisattva, so then they come with this view. Don't even go there because you will not be able to remain there, and then you have to start all over again. Anyway, I don't know.
When you get this.
But I wouldn't go into a Theravadin group, because I do teach Theravadin groups. I wouldn't go with these views and proclaim them, because I do think it's a bit disrespectful. But this is for Mahayanas, you have to hear that. Don't forget, it also doesn't exist from its own side. It's also merely labeled, yeah? And then you have what is called non-abiding nirvana. So this is somebody like all kleshas eliminated, being on the path of normal learning, having total control over their mind, having universal wisdom, compassion, skillful means, the 2 bodies of a Buddha, the Dharmakaya, the Rupakaya, and not abiding in nirvana, but manifesting again and again and again and again, as having made as aspirations, as a bridge, as a road, as a hungry dog that you can feed so you can create some merit, as a teacher, as a horse, as a bodhisattva, as your enemy, whatever. Whatever is beneficial, they spontaneously, I like these 2 words, a Buddha kind of spontaneously, 3 words, spontaneously, uninterruptedly, effortlessly, work for the benefit of others, can manifest in so many different forms at the same time. And sometimes, people have experiences, and all of a sudden somebody manifests out of the blue, and you don't know why they are there, then they disappear again. It's really strange sometimes. Protectors. People who protect you. That clear? So saying that they have not been the Shravakas and Pratyakas, the hearer Buddhas and whatever that, self-realizers, no, solitary realizers, they have not been Bodhisattvas, but is a legitimate vehicle. Because then they also say you are born in a definite vehicle, and this is how you will attain enlightenment. Yeah. So again, I don't think it's so much need to worry about these things. Now. At the moment, it's still worry, what do I do with my precious human rebirth? Yeah. So maybe we continue a little bit with the verses, and then we do final meditation for this evening. Okay? Okay, I think we were with verse 9. Yeah? And should others for even a single moment. Verse 9, if you have the book, it's page 50. By the way, there are books for sale. I thought there's no more books for sale. There are books for sale where you just have the verses. So actually it's quite good to have different translations, because sometimes they differ a bit and then it becomes a bit more clear what it means. And the one that is for sale is Stephen Batchelor's translation. And that one is the easiest to understand, I find, still. Yeah, this one's not so complicated. Miri, you have the Padma Sankara. Oh no, you have this Chandra. Yeah, so you have the same as I have, but the one underneath. The one underneath.
This one is Wallace.
Yeah, so sometimes
this is translated from Sanskrit into Tibetan.
Exactly. So
it's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different, and sometimes people have made a lot of effort to keep the flowing and being poetic, but then people as simple as me, I don't understand what they're saying. So for me, the one that is still for sale, that one is for me the easiest to understand. Of course, it doesn't have a commentary, which this one has. So that's what is nice about that one. Yeah. But if you just want to have the verses of all 10 chapters, then it's still available. I didn't understand properly yesterday. And this one, if you really practice for Citta, it becomes your Bible. I mean, the first copy that I have, it's totally falling apart. And I still use it. And the way I treated this book when I received it after my first Kopan course. I was absolutely not a Buddhist. I thought, yeah, it's interesting at one point, maybe I'll practice this. And Lena, probably none of you knew her, she was a very young nun, very bright and very compassionate, but she died very young. Quite tragic, but we kind of became friends. She tried to help me. She was just about to become a nun, and I was totally new. So then she gave me that book, and I thought, 8th century, what am I joking? I'm going to read something from even before the Middle Ages. But I was traveling in India, so the moment came, I have nothing to read in my backpack, so I started reading it, and I thought, man, we're still the same, especially the 6th chapter. I thought, this could have been written today, except for the slaves and all this, but otherwise, we haven't changed at all. And I really started to like it very much. I received quite a lot of teachings on it. I love it. I mean, it's such an inspiring text. It's heavy. It's true, but if you have decided that you want to go in that vehicle and you see how difficult it is, this text is very, very helpful. So sometimes, again, learning verses by heart that inspire you can really help you in difficult situations to kind of lighten up again. So this is why it's good to have the text, really like the whole text as a book that then you use. It's to use. It's a manual. This is one of the texts actually that you can really put that into practice. Yeah, it's the same as like with the 7-point by Chikava also. It says exactly, do this, don't do that. It's very clear, it's very simple, and it has a lot of blessings. I think this text also, because I know a group in Switzerland. I wasn't in Switzerland then yet, so I just occasionally. So they said, we heard you here, could you come and teach us, because since 4 years we just go to this text backwards and forwards, because our Lama told us to, like one teacher that they, in Lingshed, they were trekking, So they met, that Lama took to Nawang in Lingshit, so he taught them to read his text. And they formed a group, like this trekking group, and they met twice a month, they read this text, and they said, we don't really understand that much, but we find this very inspiring. So when they